Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm going to show you the second of my demonstrator swap cards. Last time when I was showing you the cards, I'd made this card and it's for a group of demonstrators that I belong to, and we are making cards or projects from the new August to December catalogue, and that catalogue has all the seasonal stamp sets in for autumn and Halloween and Christmas, and so this was my first card, and my second card is this one. Now for this I used a set called Triangle, and that matches with a set of dies, and it's these stitched triangle dies. There is another stamp set that goes with this set as well, but I wanted to use the Christmas themed ones. So I'm using this, and I actually used on the long triangles, I used the third one in from the edges. So this is what I used for my trees. So let me show you how I made it. It really is a simple card. I do have all the pieces ready, cut and stamped, just because I'm making a batch of them. And when you're making a batch of things, it's easier just to have like a conveyor belt with everything all ready to go. So this is my card in Pretty Peacock, and if you check on my blog, you'll find all the sizings, the measurements that I used, and all the items I used as well. So I started off, I cut my Pretty Peacock card across the middle so that I had a long strip of card and folded it over. And that's because when I make cards that stand this way, I just like to make them like that because they don't splay so much. And sometimes let me just get a different card base. So if you have it cut this way, you can find that, as you have it standing up, it tends to splay and fall down. So when I'm making a card that I want to have landscape, this is the way I cut it. And I've already glued in a little white piece inside, just so that you've got a better space to write on. It's difficult to write on the coloured card, so I always like to put just a little white piece on the inside. So here's our card base. The next thing we need is this piece of Whisper White for the backing. So I've got that cut, and you'll notice that there's a really big hole in it. And what I did was I took my layering circles and I used this largest scallop, and I put it on the white card, sort of in the middle. Make sure you have a space at the top and a space at the bottom, and then I just ran that through. And that way our focus point for the card is going to be this scallop that's cut out, but you save just a little piece of card. You could cut out this and then use another piece, but really this is going to have a piece of card on the top, so nobody will even know that you've been a little bit more economical. Okay. And then I've got another piece of the Pretty Peacock, and I used the embossing folder that comes with the heartwarming hugs, and you see it just has like these 4 little dots. And it's only a small embossing folder, and you can see it only just fitted with a little gap at the left and the right. So just bear in mind when you do this, you will have a tiny little strip that doesn't have any embossing in. But when you look at the whole card, you can't even tell. Nobody would even know. So I'm going to attach this to our white piece, and I'm just going to be mindful just to put round the edges. Okay, I'm not going to put any in the middle because there isn't any card there. And just let's measure this up. Make sure it's an even border all the way around. Okay, and then I'm going to attach this to the front of the card. If you wanted to do this slightly differently and not have the scalloped white piece on the top, what you could also do is cut your scallop out of this Pretty Peacock piece and then place this on top of the white. So you'll still see the white underneath, and you can still make your pattern and your picture onto it, but it will just be sort of recessed a little bit. Okay, so that's the base of our card and the front made. Now here's the little piece that I cut out with the scallop circle, and you can see I've got something stamped here, and that's from this stamp set, the triangle stamp set, and it's this tiny little square, and that's what I've used for the base of my Christmas tree. And then to make my tree, I've used some of this beautiful Plaid Tidings Designer Series paper. I chose colours that went with my pretty peacock, but in here there are so many colours. There are autumn themed colours, so you could use them for Halloween, for Thanksgiving. See, they really are very pretty plaids on their own. This is beautiful Christmassy colours, lots and lots. And I've made a couple of cards just for masculine birthdays. Let me go back to this grey. I've used this grey, and it didn't look at all Christmassy or Halloween or anything else. It just made a really nice background Designer Series paper. So I used this piece and this piece for my swap cards, but this is the piece I'm using today. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I've cut out those 3 triangles with that long third triangle that I showed you. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold them in half, and I'm just going to slowly go along so that I get the very tip of it folded as well. Oh, I've got a little piece of washi tape here. I had the pieces held in place with washi tape as I put them through the cut and emboss folders, the cut and emboss machines. So I'm going to do the same with the next one. Just fold it in half slowly, make sure that corner lines up. I started off first trying to score right down the middle of these, but it was really tricky to score this end piece. And I found it was twice as quick just to fold it with your fingers. And there's the third one. Okay. And then just give those a really good sort of squashing with your fingers, or with a bone folder if you prefer. Okay, now I'm just going to attach them together, and to do that I'm just going to put a liquid glue on one side. And I found that the liquid glue is easier because you can manipulate the 2 edges that have been stuck together for a little bit longer. It just gives you that little bit of wiggle room, and you can move them about until you're quite confident that you've got them lined up just where you want them. And it can be a bit fiddly doing this, I won't lie, but it does look pretty at the end. Okay, so now we've got 2 pieces, and if you only wanted to have 2 pieces, you could certainly leave it like that, but I wanted mine to have just a little bit more depth than that, so that's why I'm doing 3. And you know, it would be really nice made as a 3D ornament, so you could glue even more of them together, and then they would stand up sort of as a table decoration or on top of a box or a bag that you've made. You can imagine if you had another one like that stuck at the side, and then it would just stand up as a 3D ornament. I think that would look really nice. Okay. Now we've got all 3 stuck together, so now I'm just going to put glue on this back in here. And I'm going to attach it to my scalloped circle just above my tree trunk. Let's see. But I'm going to cover some of the tree trunk up because I don't want the top of this to be over the top of the scalloped circle. So you do only get to see a little bit of the tree trunk, but that's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to attach this to the front of my card, and I'm going to put it slightly off centre. I want it to be at this left hand side a little bit. Just make sure that's glued down. And then with a scrap of white, what I did was I used my Memento Black ink, and I stamped this sentiment that said "From all of us." And then I used the little label punch because that was just the right size for that font and for the length of that sentiment. So that's what I cut it out with. And then just with my little mini dimensionals, I put 2 on the back. If you don't have the mini dimensionals, what you can do is use the larger dimensionals and either cut them in half or use some of this edging. That's just the right size too. Let's take these backings off. And then I just want this to be sort of over at the right hand side, a little bit over onto the scallop and then across the front of the card. And that's why I had this whole circle sort of off centre, because otherwise this wouldn't have fitted just how I'd envisioned it. And then the only other thing I did was on this one I put some of the gilded gems, and on the one I'm making now I'm going to put some of the wonderful gems. And these are all in either the annual catalogue or the catalogue that used to be called the holiday catalogue, which is this August mini catalogue. And then I'm just going to choose 3, and I'm going to choose these ones that have like the little goldy glitter bits in, just because I thought it matched this little goldy bit in the designer series paper. Some of them have got more glitter than others, so I'm going to choose some that I've got quite a bit in this time. Oops. Oh, don't want to stick on there. And I'm just going to pop 2 over on this left hand side. I got 3 for some reason. I don't know how I managed that. Go back on there. 1 over here. And then I'm going to choose one of the bigger ones. Take that one off and pop it over here. Let's move you out the way. I don't want you. Okay, and that's it. That was my second card ready for my swap. And what I did also was I decorated the envelope, and I used little scraps of the designer series paper that I had left. This was just a 1/4 inch piece and a 1/4 inch across the other way. And then going back to that stamp set, I stamped this little tree in the Pretty Peacock, and I did that same little stem or trunk that we'd done on the card. And there we are. That's my second card for my demonstrator swap. So there's my second card. Here was my first card that I'd shown you. And I'm looking forward to receiving my swap cards back from all the other demonstrators and seeing what they made. This time there wasn't any restriction on using a certain stamp set or whether you had to use certain colours or you could only make Christmas stamps. So I'm hoping that I get some back that are Halloween and fall themed as well. So thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you all again really, really soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.